All right, let's move on to our next speaker. Ron Macnaughton will talk to us about the stimulating durable astronomy clubs in high schools. Go ahead, Ron.
I taught for many years, from grade 4 to grade 13, mostly science. I've taught in Zambia, I taught in the Arctic, and I taught around Pearson Airport. And somehow, with all that time, I never ran an astronomy club. Partially because I wasn't sure what an astronomy club could do. But now I'm part of the Education Public Outreach for National RASC that does a whole bunch of things and is just a wonderful group, although sadly we lost Linda Puglia on April 30th. She passed away, and she was such an incredibly enthusiastic person, and it's amazing the incredible people that we meet through astronomy. Anyway, I'm working on a project with Lucas Kuhn, who is in Germany right now on a summer job on setting up astronomy clubs. And the long-term goal is to hope that centers will help with the process. It's an amazing what an astronomy club can do. And this is from Cloudy Nights in the 1970s group. And somebody asked for help starting a club and got lots of comments about I made friends for life. People got positive goals. Some ended up in the same group at the same time, ended up with many senior roles in NASA and space science and using optics, etc. And it can really be a powerful experience because in my experience, often teenagers are a little bit lost in what they want to do with life. And a club like that or a team can make such a difference. How can the school club also help the center? Well, kids can help at groups. I remember once I was speaking and the group before me were two young ladies that blew the audience away, and they really didn't care what I spoke about after. I think it was comets. And one of them is our Emma, who is helping right now and is about to go to Ottawa for a summer job there in aerospace studies. So how can we encourage high school clubs? And we're aiming for this September. And we sort of discussed what is the group that is most likely to help us get a club started. And it seems every club, at least in public high schools, needs a staff member to be a club advisor. So how do we reach them? Well, one is, believe it or not, students. A number of clubs have started where students got keen in astronomy, bugged a bunch of teachers, got one, including one of the senior members of the Toronto Centre, and the club went off. Maybe RASC members know teachers and might approach them and show some of the support that is in place that I'll talk about later at outreach events, and maybe places like science centers. The key is we've got to persuade them that a club is doable. And there are not that many people that have intense knowledge of astronomy, but if they have limited knowledge, they still can do a great job. Treat it as an adventure, show fun things, and they're ideas that are ready-made, and that's what I'm going to talk about now. Just now at this website is posted a file with a dozen ideas for astronomy clubs. And the idea is somebody potentially interested could maybe look at it and go through the dozen activities, might take half an hour to look at them. And what I'm going to do, these are clickable descriptions. So each one on my cell phone, you click that and you go to a certain site. Some of them are ones that we've written that describe ideas, and others are external sites that you just go to and it goes through the event. Anyway, I'm going to go through these. You have a meeting. Well, what do you do in a meeting? Well, one idea is to have a member show an astronomy picture of the day that maybe is in the last 2 weeks since the last meeting. And they can talk about it, either read the blurb that some astronomer writes or explain it in their own words. And you can discuss it. Maybe if a guest speaker, show one relating to their topic. I love making comets. And you basically need dry ice, water, and mud, plus other stuff like syrup and ammonia and what, but it's mainly the big three. This video from Science North, they also add, the first time I've seen this, they add charcoal to give it a black color because comets are darker. The nuclei of comets are actually darker than asphalt. Anyway, but after you do that, you can go one step further. And that is, you can take this and let every member of the club look at it, but then you can move the chairs back in the room and have something to stand for the sun. It could be a balloon or maybe a basketball or maybe a kid wearing a yellow t-shirt. Doesn't matter. And you can actually walk the orbit. And the elliptical orbit, you're going very slow when you're a long way away from the sun. You speed up when you get close, and then you zoom back out again. So you can show the orbits. Um, the sun sends things out that pushes the tail away. So you can ask, well, what direction does the tail go? And the answer is it's behind the comet as it comes in. And then the sun's pressure pushes the tail ahead of it when it goes out. And that's something most people don't know. This is a neat one to me. Comets lose mass. And Arnold was talking about a comet that is breaking up. And they last something like 100 orbits. Different ones are different, of course. And why are there any comets left? Because there are 4.5 billion years of the solar system. And the answer is that was hypothesized and proven that the reservoirs of new comets way out there, the Kuiper Belt and the Oort cloud that goes over halfway to the nearest star. And sometimes these comets are deflected inward, often by many close encounters with something else. And this is what brings our new comets. Now, here we've shown from the practical experience of a physical comet model to how the solar system works. I think that's a pretty impressive lesson if you can put that together. Rocket launches. Tony loves launching rockets at, on our day or Collingwood. And maybe our ASC member would launch the rockets for a teacher if they want to do rocket launching, or definitely read instructions. I mean, it's good fun. Most people know, but not kids, that you can get a model of the sky on a cell phone and Stellarium. And I know Blake's made all sorts of courses on this. Stellarium, you can download it for free, and here's some instructions that I pasted on top in this. But something I thought of just recently is after you teach how to use the program, you could make a scavenger hunt. What's the brightest comet tonight? Sketch Jupiter and Galilean moons, and then go a day from now and make the sketch. When is sunset, and sketch the Big Dipper 1 hour after that. I mean, it could be a whole bunch of little things they do to get used to using the program. This is a NASA activity. The link goes straight to it. And extremophiles. And they have 14 cards with different extremophiles. And this is a particular bacteria that is highly resistant to radiation. And it makes me wonder what conditions cause that to evolve. But this is a full lesson, all details ready for you. You just got to read it and go. There are lots of ready-made lessons. We've got our robotic telescope, and there are programs for exoplanets, or maybe there are other things can be done with it. I don't know much about it, but that's available, of course. Here's another activity made by the American Society of the Pacific. You have printouts of a whole bunch of different galaxies, and I don't notice M31 in that list, surprisingly. Anyway, the kids are supposed to look at it and in groups make patterns of how they go. And then you can compare it to the official patterns, and you can follow it by saying, well, do you guys want to use your spare computer time on the half an hour a day you're not playing on your computer to social media, and do Galaxy Zoo and categorize galaxies for scientists? Maybe that's something that some kids would want to do. I heard Andrew Fracknoy talking about the moon, and he basically gives a bunch of cards to people with different phases of the moon, and I'm holding one up. I don't know if you can see it. I changed it a little bit. I rotated them in different ways. So what they've got to do is put them in order, but you've got to start by getting north up in all of them. And that's harder than it seems. You've got to look very carefully at details in it. Then you sort it, and the numbers with a simple code, A equals 1, etc., makes a word. And if they get the word, they've, got it right. Anyway, this is something that can be done in groups, and kids love group competitions. But you can extend it further. There's a PowerPoint on moon features that are visible on this. 6 names of objects, 3 craters and 3 mares. You can show how features, the relative age of features are found. And they can even pick the best location for the first Apollo mission where Neil and Buzz landed on the Sea of Tranquility, and maybe show videos of the launch or the landing or anything, how they just about landed on West Crater, etc. And given the kids who are observing the moon, you might get them to then look at the moon and get a moon observing certificate if they have access to a telescope. Kids love to be able to take photos and show to their friends and family of the sky. And I asked for a website suggested on beginning astrophotography, and they suggested Trevor Jones, who lives in Niagara Falls, and actually I took a course from him. So you can refer kids to that. It wouldn't be a full lesson, or maybe you could get somebody like Trevor to come in via Zoom and to talk about it. Who knows? Anyway, there are just a few more here. Maybe show science fiction videos, a whole bunch. I wish I'd put Star Wars on here, but anyway, I'm just showing different videos. And this week at NASA is just free, and you can just show it every meeting, and they talk about the latest developments. Now, in the days when Mars landers dropped on balloons, they made this Mars lander egg drop activity, and you've got to find some way to drop it from a big height and protect the egg. So here, popcorn is wrapped around the egg, and it survived. Firefighters love dropping them. Another group made a series of big balloons taped together and then put the egg in between. Beautiful. And this smaller box with padding, that's yellow yolk from a failure. From incrediblescience.com, they have a video. And there's a description by a number of people of running astronomy clubs, and I really like this one from Sydney. This school is about 4 kilometers south of the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and it's a magnet school, so the girls have to be selected and meet some criteria. And he says these are favorite activities, especially team challenges. And he found the meetings where there was heavy duty math, not as many girls came out, but the ones that did really loved it. So that's it. Oops, I went too far. So here's the list. That's online now, and I'll give you the website again. And the idea is to persuade teachers that they could do it. It would be fun. Ready-made activities, and you can go ahead. So how can RASC centers help? And I'm sort of asking, talk to educator friends. And at outreach events, encourage teachers to consider advising a club. And I'm hoping to make a brochure. It's not ready yet, but we're working on it, and I'll publicize to talk about how kids and you discover about the universe and their ready-made activities. And many people say, I don't want to do it. I don't have all the answers. Well, that's okay. Anyway, I've got a spreadsheet with more than 150 ideas, some of which are many put together, but most are individual ones. Now, how can we help a club that gets started? Well, we can run start parties either at the school or tell them to come to the Science Center. There's a telescope loan program available if the club joins in some way the Toronto Center. I think it would be great if each center made a list of interesting places to visit, speaker ideas. And the best place to do that would be in front of beer, get together after. Maybe a center member would like to help. Lots of people are retired, have time, love working with kids. I think it would be good. Maybe answer questions. I just have to put in a plug that I think if any center members involved with the club, it's so important to have proper police checks. The schools should make that as a policy, but I also think it's very, very important. If any roles for somebody needs a police check, it should be for a club involving kids. So we can help in lots of ways, give information on principle, approval, safety, blah, blah, blah. Clubs tend to not be durable because often some dynamic person starts it, doesn't get a second advisor. When they leave to go back to school, get a PhD, or become a vice principal, I'm thinking of two specific cases, often the club fades away and the good equipment is just sitting there gathering dust. Got to decide if it's run by the teacher or students. I've talked to people that have both. And we're thinking of making a starter package with things like Starfinders and Sky News and maybe printouts of some activities which will encourage them to do them. Anyway, we're almost done here. When I spoke to the Astronomy Society of the Pacific, I saw a number of other talks and I saw Tom Vassos, and I really like some of his ways that really engage kids' interests. And he has a number of things that I think are great, fact or fake. And he shows his picture of Northern Lights. And the kids have to look at it and give an opinion and give a reason for the opinion. And anyway, I'm not going to give my answer, but he has a whole bunch of this sort of activity. And the enemy to me in school clubs is apathy. And anything we can do to get the kids engaged and interested is wonderful. Okay, we can also give them ideas for promoting a club in the school. You want to get kids in. Well, one guy in Pennsylvania started a club himself in his last year. He set up a social media thing. When he read news about astronomy, he fired them. I don't know whether he wrote this himself or just cut and pasted. I mean, I wouldn't ask. This was during Perseverance landing, and he had a whole bunch of information. Maybe a kid could go to a principal and say, could we use a display case for a month or so, and maybe put something in it, a meteorite, maybe a question, an announcement about each meeting. I mean, be creative. And one club with the team name of Wildcats, they love Predators for team names in most institutions. And they worked through, and I'm just curious to know if anybody can tell me what the name of the club was. So our mission as the RASC is inspiring curiosity, and I argue that there's so many ways that a school club or several in a center's area could really help the center and help kids. So thank you very much. It's live right now. If you go to rask.ca school club /explore PDF, it's live and you can go through the dozen ideas that I had, and it's readable on a cell phone. I checked it. Anyway, thank you very much. And I'd love it if some people had questions or answers to the different things I asked.
Ron, thank you so much for your presentation and for sharing all of those resources with us. Let's go to Emma. Do we have any questions for Ron?
So we didn't get any questions, but we got a couple of comments. Dave really loved those Extremophile cards. And Harold said that it's a great presentation and that it would be fun for beginner seniors too.
For beginner?
Seniors.
Okay. Oh, right. You're talking about people in senior centers, etc.?
I believe so.
Okay.
But yeah, that's it for questions then.
Anyway, the my understanding is the Northern Lights thing. I flew once from Canada to Scotland, and there was just a wall of Northern Lights to the north. So that part might be true, but Northern Lights are so faint, there's no way you could see them in the daytime. And I don't know how many people recognize the Planetary Nebula, but that's a Cat's Eye Nebula, and apparently the kids were really proud in the club to be called the Cat's Eyes, the creative name. So that was fun.
It is a good name.
Yeah, and there might be others, and that builds interest. So, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks again, Ron. Appreciate your presentation. And just by pure coincidence, in our next meeting on June 1st, we have a member who will be talking to us about high school astronomy in the digital age, because in fact, he does run an astronomy club at his son's school. So he's going to tell us what they do, how they do it, and I believe he's also going to have a couple of his students on to share the experience.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have them, Paul, do you just mind sending the link that the ras.ca/schoolclub/explore.pdf? Do you mind just sending him that?
Okay, I'll get it to
you. Is
the
student's name Krish?
I don't know. I don't know the student's name. I know the presenter's name.
Because Tom had someone working with him on some of the things he had, a student, and he's running an astronomy club as a student in some school in North Etobicoke.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently he's used a number of Tom's activities, and the kids really enjoyed them. And they also did that moon puzzle thing where they put it together and they learn what the moon, different features on the moon. And and he might be on, I don't know. I mentioned it to him, but I don't know whether he's signed up or not.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Ron.